Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Christine Nicholas, the chair of the New York State Tourism Advisory Council, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is now 11:05, and due to the public health concerns as authorized by the executive order of the governor, this meeting will be conducted virtually, and the public may listen via webcast. It's important that all members and staff state their full names for the record each time they speak. We'll start by taking attendance, and I'll call the names from the RSVP list that I have here. So I have for the TAC members, Dan Fuller.
Here.
Ali Sirota.
Here.
Catherine Nichols.
Hello.
Eleanor Tatum.
Here.
Alexandra Stanton.
Here.
Tom Mulroy.
Here.
And for guests, we have Scott Brandy.
Present.
We'll hear from. Thank you. Scott Christensen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Liz Mizzetti.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. And we have from the ESD staff, Ross Levi.
Hi, hello.
Kelly Garofalo Wilkins.
Good morning.
Terrific. So any others that are not, I see Rich Gagliano is also on the line.
Hello, everyone.
Rich. Hi, Rich.
Hello.
Let's see, am I missing anybody else?
Gabriel Lowenstein from Assemblymember Danny O'Donnell's office here.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Hi, Christine, Tamara Murray, and Nicole Tallman from Emerson Resort and Spa.
Welcome, Tamara. Okay, all right, well, we'll get started. And if there's anyone else that we missed, we can add them to the minutes later. And please, as a reminder, when you do speak, just state your full name before speaking. So the first order of business is the approval of the minutes. All the members have been emailed a copy of the minutes, so they're also available on the ESD website. Are there any changes from TAC members to the minutes?
Nope.
Okay, very good. Motion to approve the minutes.
Dan Fuller wrote move.
Dan Fuller, and a second.
Alexandra Stanton.
Thank you, Alexandra. Okay, terrific. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? None opposed, so the motion carries. Minutes are approved. And at this time, I'm going to please ask everyone to go on mute if you're not speaking. So we're going to begin with the New York Forward reopening status, and I'd like to give you an update on some of the developments. Nationwide, New York has one of the nation's lowest infection positivity rates of COVID, and New Yorkers should be very proud of the hard work to flatten the curve. However, with the spikes in cases in many states, New York State needs to be diligent about protecting residents. And to that end, the governor announced new travel guidelines based on a testing policy that applies to all states, rather than a list of states that require quarantining. These new guidelines allow travelers to test out of the mandatory 14-day quarantine if they meet certain guidelines and testing requirements based on if they were in another state for more than 24 hours. Contiguous states are exempt from quarantine protocol as well as essential workers. The hope of this policy strikes the appropriate balance of allowing for movement between states when necessary in a way that prioritizes health and safety. More information is available on the New York State Forward website. And as we move closer to the winter season, the industry is starting to operate winter sport and recreation activities, including, of course, skiing, which you'll hear more about. Per the governor's guidelines, ski resorts can open at 50% indoor capacity this month. Masks must be worn when skiers are not eating, drinking, or skiing. Lifts are restricted to members of the same party. And resorts must conduct thorough cleaning and disinfection of rented equipment and adhere to other health and safety protocols. Joining us today are Scott Brandy from the Ski Association of New York and Scott Christensen from the Olympic Regional Development Authority, ORDA, who will be speaking in more depth about ORDA-owned facilities and the state's ski industry, what the state's ski industry are preparing for the upcoming season, given these guidelines. Additionally, to limit the spread of COVID, bars and restaurants statewide are limited to curbside pickup and food delivery after 10 p.m. This guidance follows measures taken in neighborhood states, including Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, and I believe New Jersey too. We have some tourism-related governor announcements. I'd like to continue highlighting some of the ongoing tourism-related state infrastructure projects that have been completed recently, and we similarly did last meeting. Recent announcements include completion of the Buffalo Black Achievers Museum, commemorating key events and movement milestones in African American history in Buffalo. A comprehensive new trail website for the Empire State Trail and a virtual passport program to promote craft breweries along the trail. A program to extend the fishing season and improve world-class angling experience in Western New York. The grand opening of the Cliffside Coaster at Lake Placid's Olympic Sports Complex. The topping off of UBS Arena, the Islanders' new home in Belmont Park, a new visitor center in Minnewaska State Park Reserve, and the groundbreaking for a new $8.4 million intermodal ground transportation facility at Long Island MacArthur Airport, rated one of the best small airports in the nation. These projects will allow for an improved visitor experience at destinations across the state and will certainly be great assets to promote with future visitors to New York State. I also want to highlight that Amtrak's Empire Service and Maple Leaf Service both now allow passengers to carry on bikes with reservations. This has been a decades-long fight championed by many, including retiring Senator Betty Little, and is a major win not only for the bike enthusiasts, but for bicycle tourism in the state. It will be particularly important in helping to promote the Empire State Trail that spans much of the Empire State Service line. And I want to thank all of those who have been championing this cause, including TAC, over the years. This has always been on our agenda. I also want to give you an update on the dates. As you can see, we will be emailing these after the meeting, but our 2021 meeting dates are Monday, January 25th, which will be virtual. Monday, March 22nd, we are hoping that it could be in person should the vaccine and COVID, change completely or get us back to the way we can conduct business. Monday, May 24th, Monday, September 27th, and Monday, November 15th. So you'll receive some updates. We've reviewed the calendars, and those proposed dates don't conflict with any holidays or events. That said, please know that these dates may change pending unforeseen conflicts. And also please note that we anticipate that, as I said before, the January meeting will be virtual, but we are keeping out hope for the rest of the meetings. That concludes my report. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask me now. Okay, well then I'm going to send it over to Ross Levi so you can give us an update on the I Love New York report. Ross?
Great, thank you, Christine, and good morning, everyone. We are here in November, and this is typically conference season for the tourism industry in New York State. And that is true again this year, though most of those conferences are being virtual, of course. Since we last met, our team has attended several virtual industry events that I want to let you know about. From October 19th to the 23rd, Travel Unity hosted its annual summit focused on increasing diversity in the world of travel. And with the important discussions this year around racial justice and equality, the topic, Reset and Rebuild, Advancing Tourism Together, was extremely timely and valuable. The conference included experts from the fields of diversity, equity, inclusion, and tourism. And on behalf of I Love New York, I provided welcome remarks. And Sarah Emmert, who you all know from our team, participated in a flash talk about the new Accessible New York program, which I talked to you all about at our last TAC meeting. Additionally, several of the I Love New York staff took part in the summit as attendees, and we look forward to continuing our work with Travel Unity to increase the ability of New York State's tourism industry to welcome and serve all audiences, which we all know is such an important goal. On November 4th, the New York State Hospitality and Tourism Association, which we all know as NYSTA, hosted a conference and educational session for both members and non-members. It included a keynote presentation by the U.S. Travel Association President and CEO Roger Dow on what travel and tourism will look like in 2021 and beyond. I had the great pleasure of welcoming everyone and introducing Roger as the keynote speaker, so it was great to have that opportunity. After Roger, there was an educational session with our very own Ralph Tregale, formerly with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, on the state of the airline industry and domestic and international travel. So that was a great conference for us to be a part of. As you may remember, the annual 2020 NISTIA conference, which is usually held in the spring, was rescheduled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And instead it is being held virtually this week, November 16th and 18th. Technically, we are part of it right now. This year's topic, Navigating the Road to Recovery, Strategies and Tactics for Success in 2021, will feature various keynote speakers, including Jack Johnson, who is the Chief Advocacy Officer and Board Governance Director of Destinations International, Adam Sachs, who is President of Tourism Economics, and Peter Greenberg, who is a CBS News travel editor. As for our role, I Love New York will be moderating a panel on how the tourism industry can work with state agencies, which I will be moderating, and I will be giving our semi-annual I Love New York update on the work we've been doing since we last met with NISTIA members, which of course will include how we've responded to COVID-19 and a lot of the work that we've talked about at TAC meetings. So we look forward to participating in that conference over the next few days. Another industry event that we took place in, not a conference, was Brand USA Travel Week. You'll remember that last year, Brand USA had its inaugural Travel Week Europe that welcomed hundreds of buyers and industry folks to gather together in Europe. It was a resounding success, but given the current COVID environment, like so many things, they decided to hold a virtual trade show this year. And that meeting took place from October 26th through the 29th and was attended by 154 buyers from 20 countries. And so we were happy to participate in that. Obviously, it's a different sort of environment being involved in a trade show this time of year for international travel, since that isn't happening. But we had 24 appointments with members of the international tourism trade, which allowed us at least to assist buyers in planning to visits to New York when safe and making sure that New York stayed top of mind with them. There were also a number of presentations by industry experts that a number of I Love New York team members were able to attend. So given that it was in a virtual format, I still think it was a very productive and helpful event and good for us to be a part of. I also wanted to update you on what we've been doing here at I Love New York. It's been just over 3 weeks since we last talked to you as TAC members, but even in that short period of time, there were a couple of I Love New York promotional efforts that we wanted to share. To celebrate Halloween and remind consumers that New York State is a great place to celebrate all things spooky, we partnered with the Haunted History Trail for a Facebook watch event to promote some of the 90 plus attractions that are on that New York State Haunted History Trail. It was hosted by Sarah Blackwell, who is with the Haunted History Trail, and then featured folks from some great New York State attractions. Sharon Coyle, who is the owner of Rolling Hills Asylum in East Bethany, which does a lot of great haunted programs. James Pendell from Casper Cops, who runs the Park After Dark tours at Sylvan Beach Amusement Park, and Bonnie Hayes from Historic Palmyra. The panel actually was very well received with over 5,000 unique views. And just in case you weren't able to watch, we thought we'd show you a brief 1 minute or so sample here right now on your screen.
Happy Halloween. I am your host, Sarah Blackwell, the Haunted History Trail of New York State, and your host for the I Love New York Halloween Spooktacular, featuring 4 of the creepiest, spookiest, most haunted places in our state that you can explore all year long. The Haunted History Trail was created in 2013 and it features over 90 haunted locations in almost every corner of the state. We've got hotels who play host to ghostly guests, restaurants that serve up the supernatural, and everything in between on our trail. Museums, historic sites, cemeteries, a haunted asylum, even an amusement park that's full of ghostly spirits. Tonight, I'll be joined by a few guests from the trail who will be sharing ghost stories that are sure to spook you for days to come.
So that gives you a little sense of how that worked. We hope you were able to attend, and if not, it is on the I Love New York Facebook page, so feel free to take a look. At our last meeting, we also raised the important issue of responsible outdoor tourism, and we discussed how I Love New York had been promoting responsible travel, particularly in the Adirondack region, which saw high visitation this summer. Since then, our team has taken some additional steps to further promote responsible travel across our channels, not only in the Adirondacks, but also in the Catskills, and in fact, all across New York State, as people are getting out more and more. Our webpage, we updated the home landing page to feature our existing Responsible Outdoors blog that has enhanced safety and social responsibility information. So as soon as people go to our homepage, they're able to see that and click on that. We included the Responsible Outdoor blog in our October 28th e-newsletter, so that went to all our followers. On social media, our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram feed, and Instagram stories posts have reminded visitors to recreate safely and responsibly and suggested hidden gem outdoor destinations to visit in lieu of overpopulated locations, which we know is one of sometimes the contributors to these challenges. We also did a user-generated campaign on Instagram, which asked locals and avid travelers to film a 30-second video showing visitors how they keep New York beautiful. That was the hashtag, keep NY beautiful. And at the end of the submission period, we will share our favorites out on our social digital channels. So you'll see there's a number of efforts we're taking to make sure that as people are getting out into the outdoors more and more, that they're doing so in a way that makes it and keeps it enjoyable for everybody. As we mentioned in the last meeting, we continue to monitor the state and industry-wide tourism performance data, as well as consumer insights and sentiment regarding New York State as a travel destination. Also continue to monitor the capacity of destination given the current COVID guidelines. And it's important with all our public-facing communications that we strike a balance between supporting the industry and taking advantage of opportunities to appropriately highlight opportunities for safe local recreation through I Love New York-owned media channels and earned media efforts. Especially given the state's recent COVID-related discussions and announcements, we anticipate that our consumer communication will continue to provide New Yorkers with ways to both experience New York State at home and also give them information on safe local recreation opportunities. This may include promoting lesser known venues and activities, so that way we're supporting a wider swath of businesses and also ensuring we're doing our part to mitigate any overcrowding at the more well-known attractions, especially during the times when demand is more likely to exceed their capacity. So we expect to have some of these opportunities around winter recreation and have already been in discussions with Scott Brandy from Ski Areas of New York about how I Love New York will be able to support efforts by the ski industry. And we hope and expect to do that beyond skiing as well to those other wider swath of activities I was referring to, whether that's ice fishing or winter hiking, et cetera, et cetera. And we are, of course, interested in hearing from you, our advisory members, about thoughts you may have. And so we look forward to that agenda item later in the meeting to hear any ideas around any low-cost opportunities for promotions you may have both now and going forward. So we look forward to that later in the agenda. But for now, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ross. Does anybody have any questions for Ross? And remember to state your full name before speaking. Okay, terrific. So now for our winter tourism update, I want to welcome two guest speakers, Scott Brandy of SANY, Ski Association of New York, Ski Areas of New York, sorry, and Scott Christensen from ORDA. And as I mentioned, they will be giving us an update on how ORDA facilities and the state ski areas in general are adapting to the guidelines for operating and what the general outlook is for the winter season. We'll start with Scott Brandy from SANY. Scott?
Thank you very much, Christine, and hello, TAC members, ESD staff, and yes, it's a real pleasure to have this opportunity. I never pass up an opportunity to speak about my passion of skiing and winter tourism, so thank you again for giving us this platform. Let me start off by saying winter tourism is an integral part of tourism in the state of New York. New York is truly a ski state, and many of you have heard me say this before. More ski areas than any other state in the country, 50 operating ski areas, which is way ahead of the state that comes in second, Michigan, with about 32. A payroll of 100 million this year, and 15,000 employed New Yorkers, a $1 billion economic impact in the communities in upstate New York during the winter months when we need it the most. Our ski areas, our 50 ski areas, are geographically dispersed from the Great Lakes to the Hudson River, from the Canadian border to the New York suburbs. And what we wanted to do today is talk to you about, Christine referenced the guidance early on, but how did we get to the guidance? What was the process? And we put a deck together that was part of our presentation and our discussions, which go back to last July, with the state. Discussions that were very informative, very fair, two-way discussions about our industry, about the pandemic, about the state's objectives, and our operational needs to make this all work so we can open and stay open and keep our guests and staff safe. That is clearly the most important thing at the end of the day. So what we're going to show you today, I think you're going to find it interesting, is really the basis of our presentation to the state, and basically what we discussed, what we presented as our operational guidelines. Now this obviously would have been tweaked with the final guidance, but I just wanted to walk you guys through this because, again, I think you'll find it very interesting. Obviously, we started with the activities of skiing and snowboarding naturally allow for physical distancing. And working with the National Ski Association, Professional Ski Instructors of America, National Ski Patrol, our members, specifically the Olympic Development Authority, the Regional Development Authority, working very closely with them. A legislative committee of which Dan Fuller, a member of TAC, sits on that committee, working very closely with all of these assets. We came up with, we believe, were reasonable operating plans that could meet the objectives of all parties. If you can switch the screen, please. And we're just going to go through the different things that we discussed and we felt were very important as we broke down our business into the different departments that serve the public, that have different, whether they're indoor exposures or different unique operational exposures that needed to be addressed within the umbrella of operating a ski area, such as our restaurants, our retail shops, our rental shops, and then of course what every facility has, bathrooms, lockers, things like that. But one thing I want to mention before we go to the next slide is, when we closed in March, middle of March last year due to the pandemic, many of our ski areas reopened for the summer. Many of our ski areas, as you'll see in Orda's presentation, have summer and year-round activities. So many of our ski areas aren't reopening for the winter. We're opening for the winter. We've been open. We've been operating. We have been complying with New York State guidance when it comes to our interior spaces and complying successfully. And really this big step forward is opening the outside portion of our business, our lifts. our lift operations, our tubing facilities, ski school, those parts of our businesses. If you can go to the next slide, please. And this, again, I'm just giving you a feel for what went into this. The state did not just come up with guidelines and impose them upon us. They've been very sensitive to what our needs have been and how we operate. And it was a great back and forth. And these slides are just going to give you an idea of some of the discussions that we had. If you can skip to the next. They speak for itself. Touchless transactions are an important part of the plan. Of course, that with contact tracing, touchless transactions with advanced reservations are key. Go to the next, please. Face coverings are required. We have a new saying now. Used to be you needed a lift ticket to get on a lift. Well, now you need a lift ticket and a face mask. So they are an integral requirement, and we are prepared to enforce, educate, communicate, and enforce the mandatory use of face coverings, and of course, physical distancing. Not just physical distancing starts as soon as you come onto our properties, whether it's in our shuttle buses, whether it's in our base lodges, or on our lift lines. Physical distancing will be required, communicated, and enforced. Next, please. Again, you can just see, have an idea of the discussions. Next, please. Communication, reporting, and notification. Next, please. Clearly, our goal is to keep our guests safe and healthy. Clearly, our goal is to operate, stay open, and keep our guests and our employees safe. Next, please. A lot of discussions on lifts. And, the key here is if you, as a guest, want to ride alone, are not comfortable with riding with anyone else, you are going to have that option. You're going to be able to do that. We are absolutely encouraging that you ride with those you came with. And there will be social separation on all of our lifts. Next, please. Some more example about that we shared with the state and worked with the state on lift loading, riding, and unloading. Again, just want to share this with you. You can see what went into this, the teamwork that went into this. Next, please. And again, this is resources. Next. Signage that we've developed that our ski areas are using. I thought you might be interested in seeing this. This signage is now available to our ski areas. They could either template it themselves, or we have people that are providing this commercially as well. Next, please. More examples. Next, please. Again, next, please. That's our SANY Board of Directors. Next slide, please. So in wrapping this up, I want to say again, what we felt was important to show to TAC and invited guests was what went into the guidelines, the interim guidelines that are in force right now and that our ski areas are complying with. We have been working very hard with all member calls, high levels of communication with our ski areas. Again, having 50 ski areas, we have a very diverse group, from very small mom and pops and town-run rope tows to very large, sophisticated ski areas like Holiday Valley with 500,000 skier visits. Our friends at the Olympic Authority, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, Hunter, Wyndham, Bristol, major regional destination resorts right down to the town rope tows. So there's been a lot of levels of conversation, a lot of discussion of different solutions, trading of ideas, committees that we formed to address different parts of our operation, like rental shops, which I mentioned before, ski school, shuttle buses, we've looked at every part of our operation on all different levels to make sure, again, that we can operate successfully. But the most important message I wanted to share with this group is, again, the teamwork that went into this, both from our side and also from the governor's side and the governor's staff. The communication, the level of understanding, and the amount of teamwork that went in to setting up these interim guidelines really was impressive from where I sat. We started these conversations in July, and they went pretty much nonstop right on through October. And I want to say the industry, the ski industry in New York, was very pleased with the process, very pleased with the support. And we feel the guidelines that were developed and issued are guidelines that will serve the common goals of the state and the ski industry. So we're going to be looking at opening. Many of our ski areas will be looking at opening in 11/27, the Friday after Thanksgiving. So we're very excited. The weather is about to get cold. Snow guns will be cranked up shortly. And we're very hopeful that we'll have a safe and successful ski season. So again, I want to thank you all for your time, and would welcome any questions. Anybody wants to email me and talk to me one-on-one, please feel free. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Scott Brandy. We appreciate the update. Before I turn it over to Scott Christensen from ORDA, I just wanted to recognize that George Damalis from State Senator Serrano's office has joined us. Thank you, George, for being with us today. And now, Scott Christensen, could you give us the update from ORDA?
Yes, thank you, Christine, and thank you to the advisory meeting members for inviting us and allowing us to share our story. And anytime I get an opportunity to be a backup singer to Scott Brandy, I always look forward to that as well. But, you know, in all kidding aside, you know, his leadership and the point of the spear being from SANY, what you heard about and what went into these protocols throughout the state are simply very encouraging and very optimistic. It wasn't easy, but thanks to the governor team, as well as the leadership through SANY, we thought that we would now tell you a story about how those protocols really look and how it translates in real time. So I'm Scott Christensen, the Vice President of Marketing and Communications and Corporate Development for the Olympic Regional Development Authority. And joining me today will also be our Director of Marketing, Liz Mazzetti. And we're going to kind of walk you through our story and walk you through how these protocols become reality. But before I begin, I also want everyone to know that on behalf of all of our ORDA employees, our CEO, Mike Pratt, and of course, our board of directors, we are really excited to bring this 2021 winter season to fruition. And we are really preparing and expecting for this to be a historic year. Next slide, please. So as Scott mentioned, we are still open. We have continued with our year-round activities. And as we prepare for an upcoming ski season, we have different pieces and parts of the ORDA portfolio, some of which have been quite popular and have received much immediate attention. Others are just consistent and or brand new attractions to our portfolio. For example, the zip line at the Olympic ski jumping facility, which is in your upper left. This is an exciting and new zip line that has come online for just almost a year now. And it's a thrilling experience that allows our visitors to kind of parallel the outrun of the Olympic jumps. They soar through the air and really dovetail with the experience that you would typically see from an Olympian in training or in competition. Of course, over to the right, we have a lot of our Olympic development athletes, as well as our elite athletes, are beginning to train at the facilities. They've been doing it since midsummer, perhaps late summer, I should say, and they're training individually. And the Skyride experience that you see at the bottom is new ADA compliant pulse gondolas that we've developed at the ski jumps, which take you up to that tower that you might see off in the background, giving our guests a 360-degree panoramic view from on top of the jumping towers. It's just a terrific experience for visitors, and now totally ADA compliant, safe, and of course, all of these attractions that you do see are fully in line with the state protocol, the state operation, as well as how we limit and execute our capacity. Next slide, please. As we are still open, probably the star of the show over the last quarter has been our mountain coaster at Mount Van Hoevenberg in Lake Placid. Many of you might have heard about it. It is the longest mountain coaster in the United States. We named it the Cliffside Coaster, which is a homage to the 1980 track and one of the most challenging curves on the track. But this is also one of the only mountain coasters in the world that features an audio component to it. So as you experience the ride, you get a narration from various experts and broadcast announcers. And it really makes this ride quite interpretive, kind of an edutainment experience, and one that we're really proud of. Again, the development of all this was made through appropriate protocol, capacity control, and all that. But you can see now how the ski industry, and in particular, ORTA, continues with its year-round offerings. So without much further ado, I have 48 seconds of the promo that has made the rounds throughout the industry. And if you would be so kind as to play that, Kelly.
Ladies and gentlemen, now get ready for your ride down this historic track. And they're up. Taking the curve, approaching curve 2, taking curve 2, through, on the way to Cliffside. Approaching Cliffside, taking Cliffside. Sinking, sagging. Now you're approaching the finish curve, taking the curve through and down.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really one of the true gems that we think is going to be the star of the show throughout the fall and into the winter months, as it's open year round. I'm also told that some of our board members, like Betty Little, and I believe Ellie, also have done the ride in which they don't even touch the brakes the whole time at warp speed. But speaking of warp speed, next slide, please. You'll notice that in the Lake Placid region of our enterprise, the Olympic athletes have returned for training. This dovetails with all of the protocols at our ski resorts. And it's also a way that we're able to really bring the brand of the Olympics to the tourist and to the recreational traveler. Did you guys know that 50% of the winter athletes that participated in Pyeongchang actually competed or trained in Lake Placid? These athletes live in our Olympic Training Center, and they train daily on our tracks, in our biathlon courses, in our alpine mountains. And they have all returned back. The training has begun. State protocols are in place. And many of these young Olympians in all different classifications have really embraced the new way of not only their training, but the competition that they're looking forward to ahead. And as it dovetails, next slide, please. And as it dovetails with the ski areas, preparations are now fully in earnest. We are not only focusing on our cross country and our 3 ski resorts, but the overarching mission, which is focusing on all of our outdoor recreational activities at ORDA. We are preparing the North Creek Ski Bowl over to the left, as well as the Mount Van Hovenberg Biathlon Trails. And of course, our 3 alpine ski resorts, which are industry shining stars, Gore, Bel Air, and Whiteface, are also in full preparation. Next slide, please. So as we begin to dig into what these ski operations are, I've invited our Director of Marketing, Liz Mazzetti, to join us. Her and her team have really been living, eating, and breathing what these protocols mean in real time and in a daily in a daily execution. It has not been easy. There's a lot of behind the scenes, and there is some massive preparation that needs to go in to these operations. So I'm really super proud of how they've been putting all this together in the year of 2020. It's also an additional gold star for being able to execute properly. So let me hand it over to Liz, and she can begin to dig into exactly what some of these details are.
Thank you, Scott, and hello, everyone. It's always a very fun opportunity to be part of a Scott and Scott discussion on the ski industry. So I'm happy to get my voice in and heard. But yes, you know, as Scott has been saying, the undertaking of observing these guidelines, working together with all of our resorts, working with the state, pivoting as guidelines change, has been a tremendous undertaking. And I think that the ski industry as a whole, working with the National Ski Areas Association and with SANY and then with the ORDA resorts, has been very strong and very positive. And we have a unique opportunity in front of us, being so focused on the outdoor industry, that consumers are very interested in looking at outdoor recreation as the opportunity to get out this winter. And so let me just turn that on. Okay. And so, you know, along those lines, before we even began to prepare, we've kept our eye out on any of the travel and tourism studies, specifically the Mountain Traveler Sentiment Survey, where from RRC, that indicated such a strong interest in traveling this winter, that saying that 50% don't plan on changing their plans whatsoever, that they plan on doing and traveling to where they have in the past, and that 30% are interested, but don't know exactly where to go. They have their COVID concerns. So we're definitely seeing positive momentum in ski. And in fact, once we launched Seasons Pass sales, and as the summer has continued, we've seen growth up to 20% in already currently our Seasons Pass sales. So naturally, as we get into all of this, what did we have to do to make sure that we're at the 50% capacities indoors, that the experience will be what the customer wants? You know, as you might have seen in the headlines, that there are many people that are concerned about the lines at the lifts with the new lift protocol. How are we juggling that? Well, since this summer, our team has been working on capacity control management and how to ensure the best experience for the guests. And the simple statement that I can say is that we've eliminated a lot of smaller discount programming and all the little pieces that drive from different markets, and have really just channeled in on our e-commerce platform so that we can do contact tracing, so that we can collect guest profile information. We will have more limited ticket sales, but we feel as though we'll be able to move some of the travel patterns into more of a midweek visitation. So our opportunities are abundant, we feel, right now in ski at all of our areas. So ahead of us right now, you know, what we have is the opening date, the tentative opening date of November 27th, which is traditional to the day after Thanksgiving. In addition to COVID and our number one priority of safety for our staff and our guests is Mother Nature. Mother Nature always plays a challenging role for ski areas opening, and last week at 70 degrees, that didn't help at all, but luckily the weather has turned. We have world-class snowmaking systems, so we feel that we're gauging them up and ready to roll. We also have multiple business functions to consider through COVID and through guest management, from lifts to ticketing to the activities on our sites, food and beverage, just like every other restaurant in New York State, will be adhering to those guidelines, transportations and programming, working through with the state on all of our snow sports school programming, and a very important element, which is communication throughout all of this. Next slide, please. So to help us with our communication and some real-time operations, very fortunately, we've either recently invested into technology solutions that will help this, or have just taken on some this year, which include a CRM system that manages all of our pre-arrival information. So as people purchase these tickets, we will be communicating with them on what the expectations are at our resorts, so that they know to wear masks, that they know to stay properly socially distant, and other operational facets. We are controlling the number of tickets that will be sold. I feel very proud of our resorts that we're taking the tact of selling lift tickets and giving people the confidence that once they have a lift ticket, they can ski at our resorts. We've had an eye on the industry, and there are some resorts, because of their structure, they need to do reservations even once you buy a lift ticket, which we didn't want to walk down that road. So we feel very happy that our guests, when they get a ticket, they'll know that they can come skiing. We feel it'll just leave a better sentiment with them. We're collecting guest information. We've recently bought into a new grab and go module that will allow us for online ordering, lessen the amount of contact with our staff, and allow people to grab food and go outside and eat. And our guest services, we've also mobilized a lot of our guest service issues, moved it to an online portal where we can directly communicate with our guests via email. Go ahead, next screen. And Scott, you want to take a lead?
Yeah, sure. Again, tailing after what SANY and Scott Brandy had discussed, a lot of the state protocols, information to our guests really comes down to one thing, and that really is the communication. And our strategy is pretty much one that is two-way, one that is transparent, one that is open, and one that is informative. And so to that end, our COVID-19 updates, changes, tweaks, anything like that is not only posted one direction in terms of website and digital platforms, but also in our two-way communication on social handles, texting, alerts, and signage. We're branding all of this, much like you've seen the overarching direction from SANY. We're branding all of this as a program called Know Before You Go. That's where we give as much information prior to arrival. We answer questions to the best of our abilities prior to our arrival. And we really set up our visitor with the information that they need to not only enjoy the day, but to be safe and to be confident that their purchase has value to it, and their day is going to be fun, and the recreational activity is going to be awesome. The pillars to that and the major tent poles to that really come in a couple different ways. The first one is the RFID ticketing. So technology has really led the way for a lot of these solutions. So like we're doing this Zoom call and we're getting together via technology. We have really leveraged that piece of our business, and we are very lucky. It's been a very smart project, and much of the direction that we've been going with technology is paying in dividends. They are just terrific investments that we have made. Example, the RFID ticketing is our ability for someone to not only buy a lift ticket in advance, they can boot up in their car and they can go direct to the lift. The easy pass of skiing, if you will. Our ski rentals, we have ways and technology now that you can go directly to the technician. You can put in all the information that you need. When you get to the mountain, you could go right up and get your gear. Again, it's limiting line queue, it's limiting touch points, it's making efficient the day, it's adding value to the experience. And of course, food and beverage. I believe in Scott's presentation, you heard about the curbside pickup. Well, we have the coolest curbside pickup you can get. We're going to be able to offer online menu and online food, and you could ski right up to a location, and a no touch and low touch process is being developed and in place. And you pick up your bag of food that's been paid, prepaid. And again, thanks to the technology and to the BuyFlow platform, you're able to, again, make an efficient value for the day and really limit indoor capacity as well as touch points. And then, of course, the whole thing is driven off this kind of spine of on-mountain signage, really giving people information, direction, updates, and all of that really has to happen at the point of the experience. And you'll notice as you ski across the state, whether it's an ORDA facility or a non-ORDA facility, the on-mountain signage is really the linchpin to making the guest experience safe, informative, and fun. So these are all the core tenets to our focused communication plan. And it's one that without it, we don't think we would be able to operate the way that we want to. It translates into building this customer confidence. Liz, why don't you share a little bit about how that supports?
Yeah, and just to wrap it up and end on this, I think that that's the most important thing right now is consumer confidence. I'm sure if any of you have planned a trip in the last 6 months or are planning a trip, your first question is, what's your refund policy? What's your cancellation policy? What if I have travel restrictions? And so we were very thoughtful in the way we moved forward with this, ensuring our guests' confidence in buying with us, letting them know that we are thoughtful to the situation and that we would manage any in-season closures that they may be, individual situations, as well as travel restrictions. And so far, we've had very positive feedback from that, and we're going to continue to build out our facts and information as everything continues to evolve. I think on a final note regarding to ski and in New York, as Scott said, we have the most amount of ski areas in New York State. The appetite for outdoor adventure and activities is enormous. It was growing anyway amongst Gen Z and millennials, but now add on COVID and the need to expend some money and participate in something fun. I think that we do have a really rich opportunity ahead of us across the state for winter tourism and keeping people in the state, specifically when there are other states that have some tighter restrictions to travel, some stronger quarantine travel restrictions, and keeping New Yorkers in New York. We have a really strong opportunity this winter, and I'm very optimistic about the details that I'm seeing, some of the surveys that are coming out, and I wish us all good luck in a safe winter as we forge through and try to survive into 2021. Next.
And as we do try to survive into 2021, next slide, please. I think you're going to learn that a lot of the ski industry, we really can't stand still. So even while we are executing a 2020-2021 season, we still need to position our businesses, our attractions, and our facilities as we look towards the future. We really can't stand still. And to that end, just a brief overview on how ORDA is doing it. If you look up to the left, that is the mid station at Whiteface, which as many of you may remember burned down on Thanksgiving weekend of last year. And this is a 10,000 square foot lodge that they are well on their way to having this open to welcome skiers and riders with the completion of phase 1. Not everything will be done for this in time, but boy, it is a Herculean lift into what they're doing to have it being available for this upcoming season. So we're really excited about that. That's a beautiful lodge that's going to be in the shape and form of the Great Adirondack Lodges, and it really is a local favorite. So it's a project that, while we're talking about all of this operational execution and logistics, we're still trying to complete and still trying to keep our eye towards the future. Of course, on the right-hand side, you learned about the Cliffside Coaster at Mount Van Hovenberg. This is really one heck of a facility that's being built. This will be open within the winter months. And if you can see in the center of your screen, that's a 30,000 square foot facility, which is now the home to USA Bobsled, Skeleton, and Luge. And it incorporates a starting track that goes right through the facility. Visitors can sit at the restaurant, sit at the fireplace, enjoy the warmth of our lodge. There's a rock climbing wall. And while they're all doing this through the facility, they will see firsthand how Olympians train and prepare for their life streams. Up in the upper corner of that is a 30-point biathlon range and 5 kilometers of newly built Nordic trails. Again, embracing this outdoor recreational part of our portfolio. This is a world-class facility that is just spectacular. We are really excited about it, and we're looking to seeing old faces and new customers to enjoy the sport of cross country. And then within that facility, again, you'll notice the theme of embracing our outdoor attractions. There is a component to this facility which we believe will be a hiking hub and a hiking center. Both the Cascade Trail system and the Porter Trail system can be accessed right here through this facility, through safe parking, 24/7 restrooms, and a respite location. And it will really, we believe, alleviate a lot of the congestion and parking that many folks to the high peaks see on that Route 73. And finally, down at the bottom, you're looking at a new lift that's being installed at Gore Mountain, but at Bel Air, at Whiteface, and at Gore, new infrastructure is going in as we speak. This particular example is a spectacular 4-person quad lift that replaces the old High Peaks chairlift. And there's a conveying style loading system that is at the footer of all these things. And again, it's a technological advantage for this because we can load people on this conveyor. They can keep their distance, they can load safely, and off they go up to the hill. So it really is something special, and it really is something that we're proud to have leveraged. And even down at the Discovery Lodge at Bel Air, almost a 3,000 square foot heated patio is going in. Again, we're able to get our visitors outside, enjoy the warm weather, enjoy the warm sunshine, and enjoy their skiing day with their families safely. And again, if that project wasn't already started and already engaged, we'd really be traveling uphill and really struggling. So I think you're going to see that a lot of the industry, particularly Orta and others, have to keep their eye on the horizon while they also deliver world-class experience to the existing customers. So next final slide, please. So as we transition to our winter operations, I think the entire industry is excited. We are grateful and thankful that we have these outdoor opportunities. We are looking for being a part of the solution for New York State. And I hope all of you can get a sense of our excitement and our enthusiasm as we look to the upcoming season and what we believe will be a historic season. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Scott and Liz. Thanks for that comprehensive presentation. And it gives us hope for a strong, robust tourism season this winter in light of all of the barriers and challenges that we've been dealing with since skiing and outdoors activities have been approved as being safe during COVID. Any questions for Scott, or Liz? Okay, well then we're going to move ahead to what Ross referenced earlier on. I'd love to hear from the TAC members if they have any low-cost ideas that we may be able to implement from New York State Tourism and I Love New York that we can consider. So, you know, we're obviously in, during this pandemic, we're in a bit of a difficult situation to be promoting New York far and wide as we normally would. But if anyone has looked at best practices, trends, or new or unique ideas to promote safe travel, especially nearby and within New York State, we'd love to hear from you now. You just have to press the unmute button if you want to speak.
Hey, everybody, it's Catherine Nichols. And just a really quick comment. We continue speaking not just as a TAC member, but also a New York State Council on the Arts member, continue to work collaboratively with I Love New York to share arts and culture institutions that are safely reopening and, you know, really doing great work throughout the state. So that exists both on the NISCA website and is regularly fed through to I Love New York as well. And I think they're doing a tremendous job and certainly provide opportunities for the full family, even when they're taking advantage of recreation. Some family members can also take advantage of arts and culture. And it's happening all over the state. So just wanted to thank again the collaboration for getting the word out about these opportunities together.
Thanks, Catherine, for raising that. And I do have a question for you. You know, with the 25 or 50% capacity that most of the museums have put forth, do you find that the supply is meeting the demand, or is there room to grow? Or just give us an idea of how that's working out.
Yeah, well, I think we have such a broad and diverse range of museums and cultural institutions. There's certainly, I think, demand on some days in some centers. And, you know, we can imagine that, you know, some of them in the larger cities and centers would probably fall into that category. But I think overall, because like we're hearing with sports and outdoor recreation, we're asking people to book advance and to book online. So they, you know, I think this is helping people to understand what's open and what the opportunities are. And I feel that consumers are getting used to that in our everyday life, whether it's, you know, taking advantage of dining when and where we can. We really have to plan ahead. So I think I would say that's a similar comment for the arts as well. There are definitely some that are reporting days and times that have, you know, much heavier traffic perhaps than they can manage. But certainly over the course of the week, I think there are lots of opportunities for people to take advantage.
Yeah, it's becoming life by appointment now.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, thanks so much for all you're doing to promote the arts and culture in New York State, which is really a gem that we have, and we're blessed to be in the state with so many offerings. Any other TAC members have some ideas on promoting some or low-cost ways that I Love New York can promote? Okay, so I'm going to open it up to all of our attendees. If anybody has any new business at this time, please feel free to share. So Ross, if you have any, if you want to summarize or give any closing thoughts, I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate the TAC members' time today. As we alluded to, particularly as we head into winter, we're going to continue staying close to the partners you heard from today and others. And similar to what Catherine was talking about, I think this winter more so than even any others, our main job at I Love New York is going to be about talking to people about when they recreate as much as our normal messages about where they recreate, and really encourage people to think about opportunities for recreation during the week, night skiing, other evening activities, even talking to people as their lives have changed about how they may be telecommuting or doing school from home. Maybe their evenings start earlier, and there is the opportunity to do things in early evenings that they may not. So I think that's one of the things we're going to be looking at as we head into the winter season.
Terrific. So thank you all for your time. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, January 25th at 11 a.m. And as we anticipate that it will be a virtual meeting, and we will advise you if that changes. But in the meantime, everyone, please continue to stay healthy and safe. And I just need a motion to adjourn.
So motioned.
Okay, Catherine Nichols. Very good. I need a second as well, or you're not being let go.
By Eleanor Tatum.
Thanks, Eleanor. Okay, so now the meeting is adjourned. It is 12:12. And we appreciate, again, your time and your commitment to New York, as we all love New York. Take care.